I ate one of those lemon bars, I probably shouldn't have all that sugar.
No, no, no.
My vision say double, I can see everything.
Okay.
Anybody walks by the door, we do.
No, because you have this is not the one I did now. Yeah, well, this is not the one. Yeah, this is one. I think you're fine. This is a weird light. And you have to be done just. Well, normally if at the owl, everyone else has to have their computer. They used to be from, so that's. Now they're not. Oh, they are big. I don't think they are.
Oh, well, I can't get in. We're not. I don't know who.
I don't know what that is. You ready?
Responses, I can't get into where it says responses, right?
I'll have to look at it, but it's not suggestions. I didn't have an ending.
I didn't,
Yeah, no, yeah, I will, sorry, I've been.
Thank you.
No, sorry.
You're ready. Yep, you're going like,
Okay.
I'm gonna bring the Grand County School District Board of Education work session to order. It's Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. It is 3:34 p.m. We are here at the district office. We are also available via Zoom and live stream on YouTube. Laura Lee is absent. He's absent. All other board members are present. Lieutenant Kais and District Administrator Hamilton are present as well. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Kendra, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Sure, thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Kathy, was you the mission?
Our mission is to put each student first every day.
Thank you. Okay, the preliminary budget for fiscal year 26-27 includes a proposed property tax rate increase.
Do we do the motion?
Announcement. That's just my announcement.
Oh, I see that. I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
So no,
I doubled it. I saw it twice actually.
that's why I didn't ask you to read the
Yeah.
issue. All right, first on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
I would approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Dave Bershon makes a motion, Jenna Woodbury seconds. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes 4-0. Budget Officer Property Impact Statement. All right, I'm not reading it, right? You tell me.
I'm gonna read the impact statement right here.
Okay,
Grand County School District Board of Education is considering a tax rate that exceeds the certified tax rate. This information is intended to provide the public with the schedule of the school district's explanations and proposed property tax rate increase. If you have questions, I'm scheduled. Happy to pass them out to whoever wants one or needs one, and we can discuss it after the meeting.
we have to do that announcement just in case we talk about any budget. Budget, it's a new law.
Right.
Okay, items for discussion, technology presentation, Kendra Cups will present to the board. Nothing showing up. Oh, wait, there it is. Now it's fine. Okay. That's so interesting.
Um. So this year, I would say like the big overview is the completion of the door controls upgrade we did, which involves like all of our door readers and our cameras on all school districts. We have been working a lot to improve cybersecurity along with the new legislation. So that's been like an ongoing big project of kind of some summer projects that we've gotten into. And then the student achievement, I would say these main areas that we were asked to highlight last year, I just kind of kept on here, but basically these are just ongoing best practices. So most of our administration use our data platforms to monitor student achievement and to talk about interventions and to talk about how to maximize teacher prep time so we can create resources that are tailored for student need. For well-being of students, we are still using PikaPack. We still use the Sharp survey, which is not every year, but it will be again next year. And we use those to basically do a probe of how our students are social and emotionally. Next year, we will be going back to a program that we used as like an early warning system called Panorama, but I don't have it on here because we didn't use it this year, but that will be another social and emotional component put back in place next year.
How is that being paid for?
Because originally we had some components that we were told in Power School that were gonna replace Panorama. And they have been worked on for a few years and are still not meeting what we need them to be, and the cost is more with the Power Schools.
Okay.
So superintendent and I talked about it with Jerry, and it feels like also the state has offered to subsidize Panorama, which they didn't in the past. We used to have to pay it.
State's picking up Pat.
What'd you say?
The state is picking up Pat.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Great.
so everyone's pretty excited about that, but that'll be next year.
Really good program.
Yes, and they've made a lot of improvements, and so it'll go along with a lot of the things that we know we have to have in place for our early warning systems, as well as some big things on it that we're looking forward to is just being able to kind of tier, like we can kind of build how we want teachers to look at certain scenarios and kind of take some of that front loading off for them. So it's kind of like making it more tailored versus like when we used it in the past for student interventions, it was like you kind of had to build it piece by piece, and we'll be able to kind of like give it more fully fledged, and then teachers will be like, oh, this is what this needs to look like, and here's my choices, and it'll be a huge
It's gonna tie
lifesaver.
in really, really nicely with our TSS.
Yes, yeah.
And then for School Unity, I would just say that again, we partner with Ed Leo, who helps us to have like a single point of truth for all school communications, whether it's social media, everything comes back to the website. And again, just offering equitable access to technology for students. And then I just have these main software programs up here for board members, just in case you're ever asked about them. And then the bottom is our partnerships locally, which is how we kind of survive having such a small technology department in a rural area. And then if you, Nishay, can you click on that last button there? This is the document that I have been presenting to you guys every year. And it's basically the 5-year plan where every year I just update it with like, what did we use our E-rate for this year? What were our summer projects? I will just review right now.
Okay.
If you go ahead and just, yeah. What do you need to edit it?
Well,
I got it.
I
Mine
didn't change
The
it.
budget and long-term planning goals, is that what that?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, you guys should already be on there. Okay, I just sent it to you if you can refresh it. But yeah, so this is the one that's like more in the nitty gritty. And so this is completed this spring. And so if you want to get into like more specifics on our projects and partnerships, like I have our next 4 to 5 years that superintendent and our business administrator and I planned out our E-rate funding over the next 5-year cycle. If you're curious what we've used it for in the past, I've been just updating this since I took over in 2020. And the bold section at the bottom is kind of like areas of concern or like what we've asked for purchasing. And then we just kind of have on here updated our Chromebook rotation, our devices, the amount that we have on hand as extra. When we first started, we had like 30 to 40% extra because we had a lot of class cards, and now we have closer to 10% extra, which is primarily just for loaners, and that's what that's the recommended best practice for having on hand. And then at the very, go ahead.
Does a Chromebook go with the student for their all, starting in 7th grade?
So they get them in 5th grade and they keep them until the end of middle school. And same with the freshmen, and then they keep it till the end of high school.
Okay.
And in the lower elementary, we just replace it by class. So like an entire 1st grade class will get new devices.
And they take them home for the summer.
They don't take them home for the
Okay.
summer. We send them home with the seniors.
Okay.
So summers is when we do like our, make sure they're all like fully working. Like we got a lot this year that were like screens were broken and
Yeah.
teachers hadn't put in tickets. And so summer is when we're like, does everyone have a charger? Are all the screens working? Is everything in good working order? And then we give it back.
They
Some,
get back their one that they.
Exactly.
It's their needs.
exactly, yeah. Some students have asked in the past if they could check one out over the summer, and usually we say yes if they ask. But most understand that they have to turn it in so we can service them over the summer. And then just kind of down on the bottom, yeah, this is like our security cameras, our DTL grant. The DTL grant was cut. So that was our kind of past. I will say one big change that we've made this year is that in the past, the DTL grant paid for Learn Platform. And that was how we did our metadata dictionary, which is where we stored all of our data privacy agreements for any vendor who was sharing personal identifying information with the school district. And because they cut that, they kind of just basically said, we're not going to do DTL anymore, but we'll still provide you a choice if you guys want to use ClassLink or Learn. And we were already using ClassLink for all of our rostering and for all of our kind of syncing to PowerSchool and all of our single sign-on. And so we just opted to keep everything with ClassLink, and we are letting go of Learn because it's no longer supported, and it was kind of an island of just the metadata dictionary. So if you go on our website and you go under privacy, you'll see a new platform, and that's kind of where we're storing our stuff now. And yeah, so this is our last year of the DTL since that was cut this year in the budget cycle. And then if you go down to the very bottom, this is just our team review, but like the very last page, Nishay. It's just kind of like, this is all of our inventory. If you want to see, like we purchased a server this year. This is just for planning purchases. And then the very end is just talking about like the core of what we offer for our students and teachers. And I just made a note that we have a plan to like revisit that with the business administrator and all of the campus administrators, just to ensure that
Especially with the new legislation on like screen time, we just want to make sure that like what we have in place as our core for teachers and students still aligns with what we feel like is the best place to invest in technology for our students. But yeah, and we had a new privacy report that was required by the state, which required all of our staff to take a student data privacy training for the first time, and that'll be a yearly requirement going forward. So it's just like a lot of privacy changes at the state level that we're
So
working.
the student has to take that? You said,
That's for staff.
oh, for staff.
Yeah, for staff. It's just basically like, it's just kind of like in the past, it was more of a lift from administrators to kind of like discuss student data privacy and curriculum. And there's just so many programs now that we're just trying to do better, better teacher education on like when it's appropriate to share student data and like when maybe we should be trying to use something that isn't sharing student data, so that sharing student information isn't like the first attempt at a project. It's kind of like the last, if that makes sense, just trying to like think more about our job as educators to try to protect our students' information. And so I know like sometimes we get really excited about things that feel really engaging, but it's just kind of becoming such, and it's not just programs, it's also just like the cookies are tracking our Google. And so it's just trying to work on more education for staff of like, what is student privacy? It's not just like social security numbers. It could be their first and last name. It could be their student ID number. And I think that's just kind of like a cultural shift towards like, not just the legislature, but just parents asking more about that as well. And so we're just building, you know, better practices for everybody to have an understanding of like, what that balance is.
I mean, we already signed up. I mean, signed over a lot to Google.
Well, Google is everything is locked in. So like basically anything that you do in Google is safe. They've signed a data privacy agreement with us. So anything we do in Google is like, imagine it in like a locked, you know, file cabinet. It's like when you go to a website and they say like, do you want to sign in with Google? They might be like, oh, it's free. I don't have to pay for this. Like, why wouldn't I sync it with my Google Classroom and just like have my class rostered? But it's like just not realizing that every time you sync any student information, you're like giving that vendor student information. And if we don't have an agreement signed with them, then they can sell it, they can do whatever they want with it. And so we just, it's really easy in Utah to just monitor the agreements in Utah. And if someone in the state has already signed one, we can just piggyback on that. But it's just kind of, it's a long process, educating staff. Yeah, I think when we first started, there was like 1,500 programs that were being used, and we worked at the time to like get data privacy agreements with like the top 500, and that took probably 3 or 4 years. And I mean, I would say we have them, if you go into our approved applications, I would say like 95% of them, we have DPAs. And if there isn't, I do have staff emailing saying, they're actually saying to me like, can I get a DPA for that? Which is huge that they understand. But there's a lot of just like, well, this one's asking for cookies. Is that okay? And just like, kind of like, it's kind of like, you know, filtering like a phishing email. It's just like teaching people what to look for. And if you're just having a student sign in with like a first initial or something, that's not personal identifying information. So it's just kind of like teaching how to teachers and students to navigate protecting their information. Yeah, and then this budget request areas of concern, these are kind of like the big asks that we come to Jerry and Matt with throughout the years. And so the bottom is like updated what we did this year, which was just finishing up the door security. We went back and we're just adding some sound alerts on all of the doors, so that way it's not just like a text message or something to an administrator. If a door is left ajar, it'll give like a sounding alarm just to hope that it helps keep all of the campuses more secure as like a tier 1 approach. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, I mean, feel free to reach out. But PowerSchool also, I would say, was just like a big thing this year. Last year was year 1. Year 2, we spent a lot of time just still building connections between our different vendors in PowerSchool. But I wouldn't say it's as big of a forefront as it was last year. Still a big lift. Yeah. There is one thing I think I have on here, but I don't have shared. Which is just for y'all, just basically, we did like a disaster recovery plan, and I have like an abbreviated version in this report that's linked, in the disaster recovery section. But, we have like some scenarios that are built out a little bit more, just like basically like how can we build in more redundancies for more like generators or things at different campuses just to like keep phones up. So that's attached in here as like a secondary document, but this is kind of just more of a high level overview of like, we want to just continue to make sure that like we have a plan and that we're building that into our security. It's not just like day-to-day data privacy, but also like, if we had like a server or power outage, would everything still be security able to be brought back up here? And so if you're, like the issue with our storms here is sometimes we have like power bumps and they go on for a while and that can cause some damage to our servers. And so we do have like some redundancies in price at our regional support center. And so some of those are outlined there. And we just kind of updated this section as well with Seamus on our security clinical safety committee. Yeah. Any questions or anything? Any questions?
Thanks, Henry.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
All right, next would be Grant High School presentation. Fish Casper and Derek Cook will discuss the class schedule and earning of credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really exciting information. It's not rocket science, but it starts to get pretty confusing. I've been through a couple different drafts of this to try to make it simplified as much as possible. So what we're starting with right here is kind of just what the state of Utah graduation requirements are. You can see better delayed. These are all the basic requirements. The coursework that's highlighted in yellow is coursework that gets impacted specifically by our schedule, right? Everything else stays the same year after year after year. So I would believe that the Utah high school graduation requirements are kind of built off a traditional 7 period a day by 4 quarters, 50-minute classes, which would give you a total of 28 credits for the year and a minimum of 24 to graduate, right? So, and just a quick reminder that typically the minimum requirement for a credit is 83 hours. I see this kind of vary anywhere between 83 and 140. Currently,
Where do you see that? Where did you
In
find
front of
it?
the time.
No, I mean, no, in general, like where?
I see it on different schedules that come through. You
Okay.
start to
So you
calculate
can
it
see it in
out.
code or anything.
Matt looked it up in the
So
minimum.
there is a new piece of legislation requiring
Yes, yeah.
83 hours. It's House Bill 358. A unit of credit having a minimum of 83 hours in attendance validated programs in lieu of requirement days or instructionals. But then it gets ambiguous in gray. So that's more of a non-traditional, but to Derek's point, a baseline.
House Bill what?
358.
We see it documented quite frequently, like in Ingenuity. For a full credit, it would show 80 to 100 hours of work versus a half credit, which would typically be half of that. And so as you start kind of just doing the math of scheduling, you can kind of figure out, oh, somebody's on this type of schedule, you can figure out how many hours they put in.
Is this what you were following up to now?
No, so like currently, if you look at this here, if you were to go off of what we are currently doing, we have English this year that did 2 quarters at 72 minutes for 90 days for 108 hours for a credit.
But then below it, it says 2 credits. Is that, you're talking about going
This,
forward?
no, so let me catch up.
This
So
is why we're here.
this is why we're here, because it gets confusing really fast. Okay, so this year, for example, we have English for a semester or 2 quarters for a credit. Science, biology and earth science, 72 minutes, 135 days for 3 quarters for a credit and a half. And math for 4 quarters for basically 2 credits, right?
That was the case this year.
Yeah, that's been the case this year. So the standard is 4, 3, and 3 by the state. Ours varies based off of basically credit inflation.
4, 3, and 3. What's
That's
the
a quarter?
4 English classes, 3 math classes, and 3 science classes. Then typically a full
Isn't that
year,
credits though?
yeah, a full year of English 9, for example, would count as 1 credit. A full year of math 1 would count as 1 credit, right? But we have this history that's been happening within our district where things have changed, and I'll show you where this is at. But I just wanted, this is just a baseline page to begin with. If you were to break down just language arts in our current system that we're planning on next year, English is full year. Everything worth a half a credit means it's 2 credits for English. English 10, a full year, everything worth a half a credit is 2 credits. English 11 and 12 we did in a semester. Every quarter worth a half a credit, it's only worth 1 credit. So our number for language art graduation would be 6, not 4. We follow that? Yeah. So there's a history of this. I just kind of want to go through and wrong mouse. I'm working with the mouses here, so I apologize.
So, but that was the case this year, that every quarter class was half a credit.
That's been the case
Okay.
for a while now. And Kari might be able to correct me as far as the dates on some of this. I went back as far as I could remember. I think sometime prior to 2012, Grant County High School was on a 3x3 trimester system, or sorry, 3x5 trimester system. Everything was worth a half a credit. And the point of the trimester system was English and math would be done 2 out of the 3 trimesters, which would open up more space for CTE classes, right? But sometime along that era, we had a failing grade in English and math, and the superintendent, and we moved to full year math, full year English, and full year in some sciences, right?
Actually, we started with all sciences.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
so.
the 9th grade teachers realized
That we didn't need
we
that
don't
much.
need it
And
here.
that's why I pointed out some of that above, like, oh, if you go full year, you're 200 hours, and they realize that we don't need this much time, but we do need more time. So back then, we had a graduation total of 26 credits. Currently, we were reviewing the graduation, the board's policy on graduation and walking, it was at 26 credits. That was established in 2023, we said. Does that sound right? That's from our meeting. And that's what hit me, like, we're nowhere close to what the board actually passed in 2019 to move everything to a half a credit. Okay, so in 2012, we were at 26. And these same, I highlighted just English, math, science, and electives, because these are the numbers that tend to vary, right? In 2012 to 2019, I think Tom Edwards was his counselor. We had that, we went year round in a trimester system. We moved from a 3x5 to a 3x6. At that point in time, he, I think, made the move to count English, math, and science for 0.33, 0.33, 0.34 in a trimester system. 1 credit's worth 1 credit. We were on that system. It was working pretty easy. That's what I came into when I started working with the high school. 2019 to 2023, there was a move by the board to say, no, every credit should be worth a half a credit. Spent the same amount of time, so we went through the process of saying, okay, that created a credit inflation. So in a 4-year cycle for graduation, every credit worth a half a credit on that 3x6 system, we would have gone to 6 English credits, 4 math credits, 4 science credits, 9.5 electives, and 32 credits to graduate. Right?
I just want to correct you that when you say the board didn't have discussions about any of that.
Well, my understanding.
Might have been superintendent, but it wasn't.
My understanding is that from the stuff that I had from Steve was, at that time was I was told, figure out a way to make this work. This is a push. And so I
we didn't have discussion
Okay.
about credits, but,
Okay,
sorry.
no,
Just wanted
that's
to
okay,
clarify
that's just,
that.
and that's fine,
So
with
that-
me. That's just where
Yeah.
I understood it coming from Steve Wren, who was the principal at that time.
Yeah.
Gave me the mandate to figure out how it's gonna work. Right? Because the 0.33, 0.33, 0.34 system was working pretty well, it's easy to understand, I felt like. So in, 2019 to 23, we moved to this system. Sorry, wrong mouse. Assuming that we maintained the 4-year cycle, which we didn't actually get to do without interruption, we would have been at those numbers. 23 and 24, we moved to a 4x4 semester system. This is when Todd was the principal. Within that system, had we stayed within it, we would have moved back to similar numbers in English, math, and science, but our total electives would have went up. Our graduation number would have been at 28. 2025 and 26, we went to a 5x4 system because that allowed us to have more CTE classes, and moved to math year-round at that time for this last year. English was at 4, math was gonna turn to 5, science was gonna go to 4 because science went to 3/4. Right? Starting this next year, English wants to go year-round, math is year-round, science, because we don't have 3 science teachers currently, are back to a semester, and this manipulates the total elective credits. Total credits that you could get in either one of these systems is up to 40, but graduation would be at 36. If you graduate any earlier than that, every senior could potentially be done by Christmas time with 36 credits. So any less than that, you don't even have a senior year hardly. So it doesn't work. These just show the systems that we were in and the cycles if it went through a full 4-year cycle. We haven't made it through a full 4-year cycle with any of these. So this is what my world looks like in tracking just these classes. Each one of these colors up there represents a different era of how we record credits. And so we've changed 1, 2, 3, 4, going on 5 times since 2019. So every graduating class has to have a different graduation plan. Whereas before this, we were on the same graduation plan for a decade at a time, right? But I have to go in and explain to schools who receive our credits, why do you have 1.5 English credits for your freshman year and then 1 credit for your sophomore year and then 2 credits for your junior year? It vacillates back and forth. We have the autonomy to allow our teachers to teach longer or shorter periods, which is great for the needs of our students. But recording credits this way, counting everything as a half a credit is taxing on me, especially trying to manage what is our graduation number, right? And it gets really, really confusing. So as you follow through where I am right now, you can see that the class of 21, for example, we were on track with that 3x6 system with it counting everything as a quarter or half a credit. But COVID hit in that year. If we didn't get class sizes down to 15 and students 6 feet apart, teachers were refusing to come back to work. So we went back to English, math, and science, but only 2 trimesters instead of 3, so that we could spread kids out in the sections. So there's a COVID blip in every one of these graduation classes, but I've tried my best to keep this number the same throughout, but it's impossible to do, right? Like because it doesn't necessarily meet the needs of the students, but it doesn't make any sense. Now, whether we record credits, everything's worth a half a credit, or everything's only worth 1 credit, 1 year of English is worth 1 credit, whether it took you 2 quarters, 3 quarters, or 4 quarters, we get it. That system is easier to track and makes more sense on a transcript. And it doesn't show all this stuff varying back and forth. So basically, any questions at this point? I'm seeing Dave go.
I have my kids out of school, that's all.
It's like, oh, thank heavens they're done, right? So for example, our graduating class of 2026 went through a 3x6 trimester with credits counting at 1.5 for English and math. They began with that their freshman year, to a 4x4 semester with English and math counting as 1 credit, to a 5x4 this year. So they've been in 3 different tracks, just that one class, right? And we may not be done changing right now. We're still trying to find what really works. I think Kari's done a really nice job trying to balance this constant campaign in the high school of 4 classes want year round. CTE classes want more time. And so our current schedule is, well, trying to find the balance between year round for 4 classes and CTE classes with more time. It was landed on a 72-minute class period, basically, which accommodates that. But for example, English, if we went English year round in 11 and 12, we would miss out on college opportunities. And our teachers are teaching in current enrollment in English 1010 and 2010, which are only a semester, not a full, right? So currently it's English 9 and 10 full year, English 11 and 12 half a year. But there's no clean way to record this, right? Either way looks kind of funky.
That's
Right.
proposed, that's not current.
What's that?
That's proposed for next year.
Yeah, that's the plan for next year at this point. So what we're looking at would look more like this. This is kind of a reminder. This is the state's requirements right here. Right? This is what we could be at. And the reason why these numbers shift is because they move depending on whether or not you have English year round or you have math 2 or 3 quarters, your elective credits will always shift. That makes sense. And I have to watch it every year, and it just depends on how the schedule comes out and then recreate it. If we went and considered just counting English 9 as 1 credit, English 10 as 1 credit, English 11, whether we offered it in 2, 3, or 4 quarters, it's the same credit. It would look like what you see here for the freshman, sophomore, junior, senior years. English 9, 1 credit. Math 1 credit. Earth science may go 2 or 3, but so this number would change between 1.5 to 2 potentially. And then every other credit's worth a half a credit. So the total number of credits they get in their freshman year could be 8, a minimum of 7 towards graduation. Likewise with the sophomore year. Right, so whether if it was a class like chemistry that was offered in 3 classes, it'd be 0.343333, equaling 1 credit. And so on the transcript, it would be a lot cleaner. It says, oh, you earned chemistry, you got 1 credit. That makes sense.
What about AP classes?
Currently, AP classes, the way we keep it under that 1 credit is you got AP seminar for a quarter, and then you've got AP semester for 1 credit. And it's the AP semester that counts for that credit that goes towards language arts or history or whatever it might be.
Is that what you would keep for next year?
Yeah, right now it's currently set up as a year-long class for AP classes, but the first half of it is a seminar, and then the second half is.
So they are
the
year
AP.
long.
Mhm.
You're saying moving forward, they're set up as a year-long.
Yeah.
Currently, they're not.
Not 25, 26, 26, 27, we're done creating the master schedule. We're loading students right now, so we're ahead where we've ever been before. And it's currently scheduled for just what I said, English, AP English Lang, which would be 11 is, the first half is semester, or first semester is the seminar, the second semester is the class. It could just as easily just be called AP Lang 4 quarters, all 4.25. And I'm completely fine with doing that. We were under a mad rush to get our Power School guru available for us. We had him available June 2nd to be able to help us load our master schedule. And otherwise he wasn't gonna be available until the 22nd. So I had to go in and manipulate every course that we have which is hundreds of courses potentially into these bits and pieces. By doing this, and this is something that Kari and I have discussed for this last year, is that we've also arranged it so that English 9 isn't like period 1, quarter 1, 2, 3, 4. It can stand independently and move around the different quarters so that we can have better success getting kids into their CTE courses. And we are having that. We're experiencing that. We got loaded as a schedule. We had to isolate all of our core subjects so that we could load evenly and then reload our electives into it. But we're loading more evenly with more ability to give kids what they want while still giving them year-round classes. So far, so good on that experiment in trying to make the most of this 5x4 schedule. So what would make my life a lot easier is just this. Go ahead.
This is just to kind of summarize everything, this is a step in the right direction. I don't think it's the long-term solution to solve our problem with that inflated credit. I think Derek did a good job of talking about credit inflation. Not only is it difficult to track, it also diminishes the value of our degree to some extent. Ultimately, the earning of credit should be based on pacing guides and what's accomplished in the instruction, not necessarily a specific time, right? So if you could get an entire curriculum of instruction in a short period of time efficiently and effectively and accomplish all of the pacing guide objectives, it would be worth your credit. Just that's an extreme example, but focusing on pacing guide and meeting those instruction objectives, earning credit, and then really through that lens of achievement and instruction that we talk about as a board all the time. That's the long-term direction that we're going. This is this first step in that direction. Ultimately, this leads us to likely where we're headed in the future. This is a step towards, or at least maybe not towards, but at least closer to if we did ultimately decide to go to an AB schedule. This helps that transition, which again, I've talked with the board about. I think that's likely a direction that ultimately we're headed is if we start to continue to iron out some of these issues and concerns. But I think Derek, Tish, and Kari have worked really hard, not only this year, but in the last month, couple of weeks to really hammer this out and get us in the right direction. The reason they're here today is just to kind of update you guys so that you're aware. If you have further questions, please bring them to me. If I don't know the answer, I'll work with these guys to get you an answer, but just making sure you're aware of the direction that we're headed, and then any feedback on that right now.
I have a question about, so I signed diplomas and then that difference between the high school and the school district. So this year graduating seniors had to have, tell me again, 30?
30 for the Grand County High School.
High school. And then the school district was 28.
28.
Okay,
However, we had this blip because there was a discussion about this potential law that was going to pass that anybody with 24 credits was going to be able to walk.
yeah,
And that's what kind of started this whole conversation. We went through all the policy that Matt defined.
Well, we had 30 at the high school level and 28 for the district in practice. The board policy actually was 26. The board policy says Utah minimum, which is 24, plus 2 additional electives, which gives you the 26.
so
So
we gave
we had-
diplomas for
We had
26.
30, 28 in practice, 26 in policy. So you will be seeing that policy come before you with a recommendation. I think that recommendation, and policy committee needs to talk about it, but likely having that change from the 24 plus 2 to the 24 plus 4, so that it's 28, which fits where we're going.
Which should be a lot closer to what we're.
Yeah.
It fits the direction we're going, and then that might again ultimately change a few years down the road. The goal is to get into that slot rhythm, whatever you want to call it, where we can maintain for a decade. Decades.
Yeah.
So did we give out diplomas for 26?
Yes,
we did.
We do.
we met with it, we met all the state of Utah requirements within it. And so I feel very comfortable with all the diplomas that we gave out, and the kids that graduated. But I was like, there's a huge disconnect in our numbers here that I really feel like we need to get cleared up.
Well, it was the inflation.
Yeah.
It's inflation, it's called
It's exactly inflation.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think, and that's the other thing too, is as part of the confusion was like our team members over at SCSE, they're like, well, we can just do the adult ed 24 credits and do 5.5 elective credits, except for your 5.5 elective credits have to be inflated to our 9.5 credits. Right? And because it doesn't equal the exact same, right? If you do 5.5 credits in our system, you did 50% of the work that somebody would basically have to do. And so
So, question would be if going to that, like the analogy of it's a job, right, instead of an hour, if we're looking at SCSE, would that potentially set them up to graduate a lot earlier if they could live through it?
no, it could have just been played back. And this is,
So they couldn't go forward,
I
we
think
wouldn't let them jump forward or.
even to just step back one. From there, our goal is not to be graduating people out of the SCS. There will be students who graduate out of the SCS. Our goal is to get those students reintegrated back into. Grant County High School. And so that's our focus there. There will be some, like I said, but really remembering our focus with that is a tier 3 intervention to get them back into.
and that whole point actually brings up another reason why we need to move to this way of calculating, because when students fail a course and they failed 50% or they failed a third of the course, we have to build into recovery units within our Edgenuity, those pieces, and they need to all match up so it's easier to track. Right now, it's just like, we keep on moving the goal line and it's only being moved because of credit inflation.
Yeah.
Right, which is, in my mind, completely unnecessary.
Right.
So this is step one, and we will continue to iron that out. And hopefully, like I say, find ourselves in that lane where we can stay for significant period of time.
Can you not just create this, say, language that what you're proposing, and then go backwards and just go, I know you're a junior and you think you got 6 credits of language arts, but actually it's only we're
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying.
we're making it work, because it doesn't really make
I've
sense.
thought about that as well.
Is that just more math?
It-
More headache? Do math, not math, and I don't know.
Yeah, so one thing that might happen, like I've tried to mitigate this whole inflation thing. Like this last year, to try to keep the numbers more in line with like 3 math credits. We called math, the first semester of math lab,
Right.
which then that confused people too,
Mhm.
right? And like, well, that's not actually, that's not correct either, right? It's
Yeah.
better just, because then we're having kids going, well, this math really doesn't count because this shows up as an elective, but my second half does count. So that's all I have to pass. No, you have to do the whole thing. This is just how we're recording it right now, so that we're not battling our graduation plans that are already predetermined. Because we set the graduation plan in Power Schools, it says 3 credits, right, for math, or 3 credits for science. And we have to go, and it gets even more confusing because in some cases with the credit inflation, chemistry is worth 1.5 credits. It's a 3rd-year science, but if your student does animal science as a 3rd-year science, it's only 2 quarters, it's worth 1 credit. So then you can get earth science for 1.5 and biology for 1.5, but not everybody's gonna take chemistry for 1.5, but they're gonna take a 3rd-year alternative for just 1. So then we have to go with the lower number. So I starts thinking like, this is, if we just said it's worth 1 credit, it just clears it all. So,
I can just clarify, like at the bottom of the second page, it says 26, 27.
Yeah.
After 4 years, is that? This part, you mean if we continue?
if we can,
grading
yeah, cause you,
position,
to truly see it, you have to
and then it's like
you
the
have
last
to.
page is what
yeah.
you are proposing.
So if when I put in like after 4 years, that's after like a 4-year cycle, freshmen started with this and they ended with this. That hasn't been what's happened, but, and that's why when you look at my other numbers of like what I've actually done through here. I've tried to keep those numbers from inflating so much, right? But it's on a constant move, like just this English 9 right now for the class of. It's gonna move to, 2 credits for English 9, right? If we keep doing the same system that we're on. And so,
The system is arbitrary.
I,
It doesn't connect to anything at this point. I mean, it really doesn't.
no, I've been having this
It
argument,
doesn't.
and I wish I would have actually come and done this years ago, because
Yeah.
I've been battling this for 7 years. And going, and my information as to where it came from and why we had to do it was like, I disagreed with it when we went to it. I thought
Yeah.
we were on the
So
right
right.
path with 3.34.
Yes.
And since then, it's been a constant headache, so.
So
Sorry.
is
I
that,
think they thought they were making it easy and they weren't.
No, well, and if you just stayed, if we never moved and transitioned into 4 different systems. The credit inflation is easy enough to track. I think other schools do, like Canab does it, and it'd be fine. You just say, okay, well, yeah, English is 6 credits or English is 8 credits, and schools can follow that, but what they can't follow is 1 this year, 1.5 the next year, 2 the next year, and back down to 1, like, it didn't make any sense. And as long as we're in transition, this would be a better way to record.
so is English 9 and 10 definitely a full year?
Yeah.
And then science is 2
Science, we currently only have 2 science teachers. We're looking to hire a 3rd. We are in limbo. We're set for science being, earth science and biology being a semester long, back to a semester. Our science teachers, aren't extremely happy about it. If we hire a 3rd one, we'll pivot and go back to possibly 3 quarters, which is what they prefer. I'm not a huge fan personally from, as far as recording, because you get 3 quarters into the year, it automatically kicks you out of other semester classes. But since we moved to all these semester classes standing independently each quarter, we can manipulate it a little bit better than we could this year. It's not perfect. We don't, in my opinion, we don't have a perfect schedule. We've got a nice balance, for what we have, but it's,
step in the right direction.
yeah.
But when you say the semester is standing independently, there's no option not to take the full year English for 10.
No, you're taking a full year English if you're in 9th or 10th grade. You just don't have to take it all period 1, quarter 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do here, so that we can get some of the elective classes that you want to have.
And the English teachers believe that they need an extra semester or whatever they.
Yeah, so it's actually. a
It's an
full
extra semester, yeah.
It's gonna be.
That they think they need an extra semester to get through, like I think it goes back to what Matt said, right, of, there's content, but it's gotta be rigor. I mean, I feel like just because you increase seat time.
Yeah.
Our teachers still need to make sure that they're teaching 72 minutes for 180 days. Like, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so we're not spreading out now. We're not taking what you taught for a semester and spreading it out for a year. We're
Teaching more stuff.
we're teaching more stuff.
I hope so, yeah.
Rigor teaching.
And that's what Lindsay,
I mean,
that's their experience. in
That's
math.
our,
And the
priority.
major downfall about this system right now is to allow like math or English to go year round. They are slammed with kids. And there's no way to repeat the class directly. You have to automatically go to academic support. Their numbers, we're doing our best to keep their numbers relatively within the 25 range. But I don't know where it's gonna go, when we create constraints in kids' schedules. Because they have to have certain things, and. You know, we're trying really hard. Right now, we're being successful. We're about 50% through with the entire schedule, getting students completely scheduled. But as soon as kids start really coming in and saying, okay, well, I didn't get my requests that I wanted. I want to start moving around. And from the school counselor perspective, I have to take into consideration, well, this is in line with your life goals, and I can't hold you out of this class. We got to move some things around. We might have core classes like math and English, where there's not a lot of room, that they're gonna have to be above 30 kids. To be able to fill the other classes. I'm hoping that we can keep from doing that.
So, but there's no new 9th and 10th grade English teachers,
Exactly.
but there's no new science teachers, and they're not, so they're going down
Mhm.
to a semester from 3/4 of science teacher.
They're going down from 3/4 to a semester currently,
And you say because we only have 2
yeah.
science teachers, wasn't that true?
So what happens though?
Or we lost a science.
Yeah, we lost a science teacher this year. What happens is that when you go to the semester, we can double the amount of sections of the class.
Okay.
When they're on 3/4, for example, earth science could only have 4 sections of that class. Now, when we go to just a semester, they can have 8 sections of that class. Which then that automatically drops their student numbers down. But we're managing science right now, but again, like if science says they want to go full year. Because they feel like they need all that time. We'll be losing out on CTE funding and things like that, and so we'll be like, we need to look at a different schedule potentially, if that's the case.
So just looking at my math, I want to say that if we were a 7x4 50-minute class. A year-round class would be 150,
135, yeah.
150? Oh, I did 150. Hours, and so. Right now, I mean, that's, if you're a year-round math, year-round English. And if keep adding that, that's a lot of core, and I support that, but that means. Like that is another district or high school that is doing a 7x4 50-minute class. Like we're almost doubling it by that. And so that's what I'm saying. That rigor, to me, I just want to make sure that rigor that's a lot of time in the class that we're not. Because you hear a lot of teachers or a lot of parents, core is.
Yeah.
It's not important to all parents.
Yeah.
Right? And they want to diversify their kids and make sure that they can get in trade schools,
Yeah.
the whole thing. And so I just want to make sure that, we're aware that like we're keep increasing it. That is we have because we're 5x4, 4x whatever. 5
Periods by 4 quarters.
that it's
Yeah.
a lot of our diversity isn't there because of the 5x4. If that makes sense.
And we
Okay, so
definitely started.
just kind of throwing out that information.
Why we did, we were 7x4 way back in the day.
Way back before we went to a trimester system, probably, like back when I graduated from high school, from Grand Canyon High School.
We went to trimesters and haven't looked back until 20.
Well, 2024.
Four.
Why did we go to trimesters?
In my opinion, schools were moving into a lot of CTE was coming up
Okay.
and more focus there.
Okay.
And CTE needs more
We
time
need more
in
time,
classes.
That makes sense, okay.
And so the trimester system, the allure of it was 2 trimesters for a full year of English, math and science instead of 3, opens up another period for CTE. The alternative to the trimester system was the AB system. And there's very few schools there anymore are on a trimester system.
Right.
That I receive credits from.
Right.
There are still some out there. I think Vernal area is still on trimester.
Current enrollment.
Yeah.
Trimester system.
Yeah, because of Vernal
And then-
mostly.
Did we go from trimester to 4x4 or did we go,
4x4.
we went directly from
Yeah.
trimester to 4x4?
Yeah.
I think the important thing
When
to
are we gonna
remember,
go to where we need to be?
yeah.
Yeah.
In the 4x4 schedule was like, yes, we have the rigor, but the thing that we experience is like, you can't shove. Just because you have the time, doesn't
Right.
mean you can shove more math
No.
into their heads.
No.
They
They
have a
can't.
carrying capacity.
They can't.
you know?
They need time to digest.
I totally,
Literally.
so as an adult, yeah.
So you. Matt mentioned we're moving towards, what's it gonna take to get there so that, and historically, we're at 10 years of the same thing that's working, if possible. I mean, we can't change every year.
No, and
Yeah.
I think that this is, I think,
I mean, I
some
don't
time
know. what the
ago,
goal is.
I heard rumor of discussion of just like, let's look at systems that really work,
Yeah.
right? That, and not that this doesn't, we're making this work for us. We have the autonomy, it feels like, in the Grand County School District as the only high school to customize for our students, and that's a blessing. But through the process of it, we can't make everybody happy. On those, both sides of the spectrum, the core need this and the CTE needs this, and we've got to find a system that,
But there is a strategy.
there is, and most schools went to that AB. And I know you guys need to move on in your meeting, and I've.
And so, I just wanna say, my opinion is, you know, I think the most important thing is the year round versus the seat time, right? I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's what English wants. They don't necessarily want 216 hours
No.
of teaching time with their students. What they want is 180 days. And so that to me is where
Yeah.
we're not connecting, because that's a lot of time
Yeah,
in English. And
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, I can't imagine being that, the rigor in your English classes are gonna be like that. You know,
it'd be rough.
it's
Yeah.
hard,
I
so that's
helped
my- and
some
that's
in
just my opinion
our
watching.
football theory class for a 90-minute class,
Yeah.
and they were done after 60 minutes. It's
Yeah.
like, it was a lot.
Yeah, so, and I hear those core classes, but it's year round, not seat time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time, and let me express my concerns.
Thanks for
Thanks.
boggling my mind.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have your job.
Well, it's a lot to follow, for sure.
Maybe.
Right.
So,
Bye. Thank you.
Personnel updates, no staffing changes since last board meeting. Correct?
Correct.
I did see we are posting, middle school coaches. I appreciate that. I think I ask for that every year of like making sure that when we open up coaching positions, we're doing it bigger instead of, word of mouth. So that's maybe somebody else will see it that might not be the regular guy that has the in with the sports, so, thank you. Securing instructional areas, Superintendent Kais will present on securing instructional areas.
Okay, I want to preface this with just, this is information. I don't have all the answers. It's just keeping the board abreast of the direction that we are heading. And getting some guidance. So if you'll open up that first presentation, Michelle, again, information. So as you guys are aware, House Bill 84 came out a couple of years ago, and then House Bill 44 changed a lot of stuff. We, in the initial stages, jumped on a state-approved vendor list to get security film for all of our areas that needed security film. Only to find out that it didn't meet the standards of security film. And so, because that standard was changing significantly. So it's taken a couple of years, but Chief Pennington and his group have finalized what the standards are and what the requirements are. And again, this is just informational. So if you'll go to the next slide, it's talking about ballistic glazing. And I hope you guys understand what that means. Those are the terms which qualify something as ballistic glass. Again, just information. If you're wanting to look it up, please feel free to do so. The next slide talks about, gives you a chart for bullet resistant materials. You might find that, some might find that more interesting than others. So the two types of glass and glazing that we're talking about are ballistic, which I showed you the definition of, and then security glazing, Michelle, if you go to the next slide. I'm gonna read that one if I can pull it up on my computer so I can see. So clear tinted durable material applied to glass doors and windows that is virtually invisible and enhances the structural integrity of the glass, preventing it from shattering and falling to the ground. And then it gives you the metrics on that. And the next slide talks about what it takes to pass that test. One of the big things, one of the big guidance pieces that came out of them finalizing everything was that interior classroom windows. So if you go to the next slide, they say interior classroom windows or instructional areas shall have ballistic glass or security glazing installed on any pane of glass that is within 6 feet from the floor. So the next slide is an example of a building. And I chose this because it's similar to kind of our setup at HMK. So looking at that, where you have what is called a learning studio, so you're that would be considered an instructional area, team teacher, what requirements are needed. So the next slide, Michelle, is what we're looking at. So this shows you ballistic glazing with locks on all of that interior glass that covers an instructional area. Some of our schools are going to be the middle school is going to be the majority of this project. The other three buildings are not so bad. Looking at the final slide, there is a chart and it talks about expenses. Now, these expenses change as the market changes, but this gives you a really good idea. So if you go down at the bottom of the far right column, you're looking at a 19-foot wide, 8 feet tall, 8 feet high, similar to what we have at the middle school, what that piece of glass would be. Just that piece of glass. Now, one of the things that you have to also do when you put ballistic film in is upgrade the frame. Because you can't have just the glass that is secure and then a cheap frame that could be shot through and then pushed over. So this is a giant project. If you'll back out of this little presentation, I have attached the blueprints for all four buildings. And they are the key there. They have right there. It's to zoom in on the bottom right hand corner so I can read what it says. You can see where red is security, blue is ballistic, and green gives you the option to do ballistic or security with some type of treatment. So one of the options we have at the middle school in those classrooms would be to make that glass opaque and then have the less expensive security glaze. Or keep it completely see-through and look at the more expensive ballistic. So all of these are all four buildings are highlighted on here. Minimal work at the high school and HMK. The high school, we do have to replace it still has glass panes with the wire. I think it's just in the classroom doors, right? And so some of that needs to be replaced. The library in the high school was one issue. The media center at HMK is another lift. But my intent is to hopefully get this packaged up and go out for a request for proposal or invitation for bid. And have alternates in there to look at what options we have and what might be the most affordable, and in what direction we want to go. As you look at these two on this legend, The areas that you see with the horizontal red stripes, those are considered safe zones. And so that changes the requirement. The requirement on the door only needs to be security because there is room for the students to find a safe area.
Okay, so these are safe areas for the kids to hide behind. This is the door.
That's the door and it would need to have security glass.
So it's just that because a shooter couldn't see over there is basically what you mean by safe area. Did you draw all this? Or
Yeah, how did you get this?
No, MHDN put
They
this
did
together.
this?
Okay, I was just saying, that's.
Wow.
So the good news is they extended the security grant timeline until June 30th of next year.
27.
But we do have to have a plan in place to expend that by July 30th of this year. So
And this
that's
is
why
that grant that,
The safety grant.
the safety grant that Jill got. Right, we got like quite a bit of.
we have approximately 1.16 right now left in it. There's 250 that I'm trying to recapture. So if I get that back, that'll be 1.4, 1.3 and a half. Rough math, you know, you could see $500,000 going into the middle school. And then the other three buildings, I think we hopefully could do for the remainder.
And the middle school, you said that a decision that we could make would be if we go with opaque glass and
Security.
and security versus ballistic glass. So we'll get those numbers, like we'll get a,
So on our request for our invitation for bid, that would be an alternate.
I see.
The other thing, I don't know how that time frame works. I don't know what it takes. As far as logistically to be replacing glass, I mean, that would be a summer project, so. If we're getting everything ramped up and then ready to go. A year from now, May of next year, and asking them to finish it in the 1 month that we have to do to expend our grant, or if we can commit those, Jerry's working. With the State Board of Education on that as far as what it means to have those fully expended. But we're hopefully getting out ahead of this a little bit. And moving forward on it, it is gonna be a big project. And so, and unless there's any major concerns or feedback, I will start working with MTHN to have this formalized, packaged up to look at going out for invitation for bid.
But you're saying the project has to finish by June 30th?
Of next year.
Of next year.
I know.
Yes, we have to, well, the grant ends June 30th of next year.
So I'm checking
So
to
if
see
there's a
if, the-
delay.
I'm checking to see if the grant has to be fully expended by next June 30th, or if it can just be encumbered and promised.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
So that would be a pretty big lift. It would be a month. I mean, for this all to happen.
Yeah, so it's just, you can see right there in the shades pulled up to middle school where it's green. You have the option of doing, I'm gonna walk up here, keep an eye on the pointer, but. Where it's green, you have the option of doing come back to Shane and zoom out a little bit. So I can see the option we do, a little more. Here you have the option of doing that opaque with the security. Here, we can do security because this counts as a safety zone. This closet, in between, as long as the floor is not encumbered or stacked with boxes, or it has to be accessible. It can have stuff on the shelves in the wall or in the cabinets. As long as the floor is open, you do security because that counts as a safety zone. But these 3 classrooms, we really have to make a decision on. And if we did go opaque, I think it would be. You have to do opaque as well, not that, just to have consistency.
That 48,000 that you gave us, that price, is that for ballistic glass?
That is for the ballistic. And again, that varies. That document is a couple months old. So I don't know if it's gone up or down. You know, it's bounced back and forth. So.
Let's see what they say.
Questions about that? The good thing is we don't have to have this done until like 2036. The problem is we run out of money in 2027. So. all those are there for you guys to look at. Let me know if you have any questions. And they're there for building administrators to look, you could look at that code, let me know if you have any.
Okay, Brown County School District Shine policy, Shine.
So every year, the board is required to just review the Exhibit A. Which is, you have the ability to change this from year to year. This year, we have no recommended changes. It will come back before you as an action item on the 24th. So just a chance for you to read the policy again and look at Exhibit A, where we have special education, speech language pathologists, secondary math, and secondary science. Again, there's no recommended changes, but if you have questions, please. Let us know. Did I take the year? We'll take that.
Okay. School fees, Business Administrator Jared Hamilton will discuss Brown County School District policies regarding student fees, including for homeless students. She will then present fiscal year 27 fee schedules.
Okay, so the first two documents there are current policy. The FAC is the McKinney-Vento policy that we have. That's just there for reference. It meets all of the current school fee guidelines, past the compliance monitoring review we had for school fees. Did take some of the verbiage out of this one if you want to cruise to the second policy there, and I think you have a copy of this in your folders also. The thing that we need to add to this policy is on page, I think it's on page 2, page 12 of the policy, right? Where it says, right,
It might be easier to look at your
yeah,
handout, has handouts, there's notes on it.
it has, so we need to add, in order to be compliant with the state, there at the bottom of page 12, where you have your eligibility for waiver. And then it states the code, and there are 5 reasons. We need to add a 6th reason, that a student qualifies under McKinney-Vento, under the McKinney-Vento Act, and then it states the rule that needs to be added. So this is just for you to kind of review, and those are, that came out of the monitoring, so, and then the next 3 documents are the individual, school fees. So HMK, all of their fees are voluntary, but they did add that disclaimer last year where it says notice up in number 1. The items on this list must be used during regular school, and they are voluntary because we cannot charge fees for classroom supplies, and we cannot, when the teachers send home a list for the kids, Holly had to put this disclosure on the bottom of all of the lists that the teachers send home. We cannot require that a parent bring those things in. So that just had to be stated. No changes from last year on the HMK policy or school fee schedule. The next one up is the middle school. There are a couple of new ones. Not a lot of difference here. And then down, if we'll scroll down to the bottom of so up at the top, there's a new verbiage talking about school fees. The fee waiver form is separate from the free and reduced lunch form. That's a concern and an issue.
Is that
So
new?
that is new. They are separate forms, but then if you scroll down to the bottom, there is a new section called fee waiver eligibility, and it lists all of the reasons that you are automatically qualified to receive a fee waiver. You just have to complete the fee waiver form. And then there's a link on each of these, that both the high school and the middle school fee schedules to the fee waiver. And then the high schools. Fee waiver
There's a couple of new things on there, Jerry, that aren't on this.
that are on this one you sent yesterday.
Yeah.
This
We
one you
updated
sent
it
me
today.
yesterday.
Well, we updated it today.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, we kind of had to, because like. See, like class trips weren't on there, but we always charge the seniors for their good trip and their. Burger trip, but it.
But those are optional, right?
Voluntary.
They're a voluntary.
But they're still a fee. Yes, they're optional, but they're still fees, so we just put class trips on there in general,
Okay.
so that.
So this will have some edits when it comes back for review. I'll make sure that you have a copy of
We
the
have to post this,
changed today. Yes.
we're posting these.
I will send the new one that you changed today. So, because these were posted yesterday. The biggest one that was added here was the, your concurrent enrollment costs.
AP.
Well, and
AP exam.
AP exam fees. So currently, those are paid for, but in the event that they're not charging the students for those, and then again, on this section 12 on this one, goes through the list of fee waiver eligibility.
Do you have to? Since you're doing AP exam, because that, I guess that's connected to the AP class, right? Versus. The ACT, not that we have to pay for the March one, but if they do sign up for the ACT with them. And you take it at the school,
Yeah, but they sign up all on their own.
that's not a fee.
Right.
So these just need to be approved by the board, on the 24th, before June 30th. So they'll come back, we'll make sure that it gets updated with changes. And then, again, the board just needs to be prepared to take action.
I'll send you the updated one at the end of today.
Did any of the costs change or no from last year? As far as you added the new ones, but as far as the driver's ed is still 125, I mean, those didn't change.
Correct.
Jerry, why was the National Honor Society fee reimbursed?
Because it wasn't on the fee schedule last year.
Okay.
And so by technically, you can't charge a fee if it wasn't on the fee schedule, so it is on the fee schedule for this coming year. It just wasn't on the fee schedule from the years they monitored. So that's just for you guys to review. I'll get you the most recent copy at the conclusion of today so that you can. And feel free.
So with athletic fees, it's up to 700 per sport, not including motel rooms. Correct.
Correct.
So we're bumping up pretty close, I think, if we add motels,
So,
because of so many overnight trips
I put,
this year.
yeah, I put a comment in there because like it's a little bit confusing. But this policy was approved in 2006. It is completely out of date and we're not doing. In practice, what it says in the policy is not happening, but it's very old. So I don't know if we have a current policy that should replace this policy FFC, student travel. I didn't do a comparative analysis, I just highlighted it, that this is out of date.
Where is it? Is it connected? Is it a link in the?
No, I just looked at
in this form.
The link in this form.
And that's it.
Yeah, under section 7.
Seven?
Yesterday, the date on there was 0506
All right, yeah. Oh, I don't think that.
at the bottom, 2006.
That you just might have an updated form linked on there because the policy's been updated since then, so we can just look at.
Okay, I'm just like,
What?
One of the things that we talked about, in line with this is the front part. The public part of school fees. But it is a priority to look at and work on the spend plans which support these school fees.
Okay, I'm
And that's
confused.
something that has not been touched for a number of years, going back, I don't know how long, but those spend plans have not been. So that's largely a secondary and middle school issue where we work with the coaches, and the building administrator and athletic director to really firm up those spin plans which support this school fee. So,
And just, I mean, side note, I've been talking to people that play athletics in other districts and they have, like, it's a lot more to play sports, like they do a travel fee, a uniform fee, equipment fee, I mean, they got
So it's
fees.
just an itemized, like, and do they pay, is it like
and that's,
just an itemized thing? You're gonna buy your uniform, you're gonna. or-
No, you're
No?
renting,
Well, okay, or,
and all of
So-
that is supported by a spin plan.
yeah,
right,
but I just wanna, no, like,
so
we're pretty low comparatively.
inexpensive,
However, the traveling, they only have to usually travel
yeah,
an hour
right.
longest versus hard.
Overnight.
That's the difference
Okay.
between that. And that probably the motels would be on the spend plan. So, but they do, I mean, it's like $700 to play softball in high school versus 50.
Yeah.
So
I will. But $50, does that include your uniform?
your uniform,
Your rental
not,
uniform? It does?
yeah,
$50 includes that?
Yeah. not your outfits.
No,
Like
I
their
know.
sweatpants and their shirts and
They
stuff.
have to send it. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that does include equipment.
Yep.
And uniform
And facilities
and facilities.
and
So
bus
$50
travel
is really-
and,
Just out of curiosity, most kids have their own bats. Just
Yeah.
because they have to, students, they have their own mitts, so I
Yeah,
assume they
yeah,
have
they
their
do
own
now.
bats.
yes, they do now.
But they still, but there's.
Yeah, I just
community
was curious
bats and
because that's a big deal. I know.
Community
I
helmets.
mean,
I
they
mean,
just were a
sometimes they
piece
have
of
a
wood, I
community
just saw
helmet.
them
So
back
this,
in my day.
But,
this will be back on the twenty-fourth.
okay, thank you.
The drill team and the cheerleading uniforms, are they that, I mean.
Oh,
Glad you.
and they're putting them on there because those they don't reuse those usually. Maybe the girls.
But they have to buy it for themselves and
Yeah.
that's, the
I
limit
would
is
think.
important because they could spend.
A lot more.
Sequins cost a lot.
A lot of money.
So I assume football more
Well,
than baseball,
and-
just.
Moving into next year, it was kind of ambiguous this year, but the state, Matt and I discussed this when we were in St. George, the state is setting limits potentially, but that they haven't come out with their policy yet. If you are a fee waiver student, what your annual fee waiver limit would be. So that's still in discussion and rules to come out from USBE later this year. Moving into school year 28.
A fee waiver limit.
So a kid that has met their limit couldn't do a sport maybe because they don't get a fee limit unless they pay.
Unless they pay.
They pay their own fees. There will be no waiver for it.
Yeah.
Like
No
your waiver
waivers for
would
some.
There are a handful of other options,
Yeah.
not necessarily the state, couldn't, but there would be other
Right,
options.
right.
Yeah.
And things that take place, so.
And then on this document, if you click on, there are spend plans are connected to each
Yes.
thing there.
Most things.
Most of them.
Spin?
Spend.
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 We don't know.
Those need to be okay.
I see.
Okay. So, and that travel policy is interesting because it kind of limits some like, we're not doing that for others.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is for your review. I'll get to the updates of high school one and it'll be back in a couple weeks.
What's FFC, Where's FFC on the agenda?
It's not on the agenda, it's the attachment on the.
It's under item 7 on the high school
Um,
fee schedule.
mm.
Okay. All right, sorry, okay, negotiated agreement, the GEA and GCSD come to agreement, the agreement is attached for the board review.
So this is just a draft of the negotiated agreement. Couple of things. I do have a spelling error on there. Sorry, Judy. And then so what we agreed to was the levels and continuing education advancement of 1.5% on the base. Maintaining the same, prorate of insurance, as far as splitting that increase. Maintaining and following the Utah retirement contribution. And then we will be conducting a mid-year review to determine if funds are available for a one-time compensation payment for eligible employees. So again, just a draft. I do need to do some grammatical fixing, and then this will be back for approval. And just to be clear with the board, that 1.5% goes across all of your salary schedules. So in the past, you've signed individual salary schedules. I think Lindsay's probably already signed them. This 1.5% is consistently applied to everybody. So just to be clear on that, and I think this shouldn't come as a surprise, is what we discussed. So we're happy that we reached an agreement and can go forward. Questions on that?
No. Judy, this isn't a public comment section. Did he answer your question? Okay, thank you. All right, next. Board retreat.
So I thought I would end with an exhilarating presentation
Why do we exist?
for you guys. I don't want these questions answered, and I'm not even asking for any discussion right now. What I want to do is just get this permeating in your mind over the next couple of weeks as we go into our board retreat, where we'll have a lot of training heavily based on discussion amongst ourselves. And these are some of the questions that we'll focus on and hopefully be able to build some coherence on and go from there. So, you know, why do we exist? What is our core reason for being? Why this work matters? And I put a lot of time and effort into selecting these pictures, guys. A lot of time. It's a complete evening. What are your values? And then what are our values as a group? How will we succeed? That's probably my favorite picture. I'm not really sure what it means. It just spoke to me.
Are you the light bulb?
The guy with the.
And then ultimately, what's most important now? And this picture is how I feel on a daily basis. That is what's going on. That's how I look. That's how I look as well. So they don't let me have a pencil. But what is most important now? So really, just throw that on there. There doesn't need to be any discussion. But just start along those lines and see, you know, for me, a lot of the times, my best thinking is when I'm driving down the road and not thinking and something pops in my head because of you know, it's been on my mind. So I'm just trying to share that with you. And then, we'll start at 7:30, on the 30th. So wake up bright-eyed and, ready to rock and roll. It's gonna be exhilarating. Kathy, you're laughing at me, but
7:30.
I'm trying to, you know, trying to build up some optimism here. And then we'll go from there. So, yeah.
Okay. There is no executive on the agenda. Okay, so I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
There's a second? Dave, you didn't finish.
I know, I gave it up.
Kathy Williams makes a motion,
Like
Jenna
Earl.
Woodbury seconds. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
I will stay, no,
4-0, adjourned at 5:06.
what would you do if I said nay? Wouldn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah, vote.
I know.
You're not in the majority.
Would you?
Well, wait,
Check me into the,
since there's like 4 of us,
He'd be okay.
okay,
yeah, 3, that's.
well,
3 out of
You'd
5.
be okay.
okay. I didn't know if it was
I don't
present.
wanna cause trouble.
Oh, you're just one, never mind.